Welcome to Get Out There with Urban Ultra, a podcast all about trail running, cycling and more.
Hello, I'm Louise and you're watching Get Out There with Urban Ultra. Today we're going to be talking about the basics of trail running. So what is trail running? Of course we all know what running is, but what if we add trail into the mix? We get a whole different scenario. Trail running generally takes place on established hiking trails, and it's often in mountainous terrain where there can be much larger and steeper ascents and descents. More generally here in the UAE, we can add to the mix wadi beds, goat trails, donkey paths and rural farming areas where there's not much foot traffic at all. And of course the spectacular dunes which we are surrounded by in the UAE. Trail running has grown massively over the last few years, and I can put it down to a couple of things. The landscape, the quiet environment away from cars and traffic. It's closer to nature and it's in such a serene environment. It's more of a spiritual experience than just a physical challenge. And it's the simplicity of it all. It completely nurtures your soul. You can make trail running as challenging as you like. If you want to charge up those hills, go for it. If you want to go up there steadily or even walk, that's up to you. There's absolutely no shame in walking. For me, the rule of thumb is to run the downhills, jog the flats and walk the uphills. That depends on the terrain, of course, but don't be afraid to walk. Following certain indicators like erratic breathing or leg burning, or when the terrain dictates, it might be just as easy to walk fast instead of running. When you are hiking instead of running, find a nice comfortable pace that lowers your heart rate, but you continue to push the pace, and avoid eating and drinking while you're climbing a hill. You won't be able to regulate your breath, and it's really hard to swallow if you can't breathe. And remember, hiking or walking on a trail is absolutely no sign of weakness. Even the toughest of elite trail runners hike when it's more efficient to do so, so why can't you?
Thanks very much, Louise. So my name is Pascal. Trail running is very different than running on the road. Trails are rarely flat and can quickly move from steep inclines to steep declines. Roads and sidewalks are generally smooth, and trails feature rock, roots and any number of things that can trip you over or slow you down. Your feet and ankle tend to take a beating on rocky trails. Running through remote areas introduce a new level of danger that don't exist on road running. Unsure footing can be frustrating, but with a few adjustments to your running technique and you can tap the primal spirit and take on even the most of the technical of trails. Slow down. The biggest mistake new trail runners make is trying to run at the same pace they do on the pavement. Time and pace on the road should never be compared to your time and pace on the trail. Trail running means running with different focus and a different form. When going out on the trail, adjust your speed that feels comfortable and appropriate for the particular outing. Even if you aren't moving as quickly, you're still using the same amount of energy, if not more. Trying to keep up road pace can send your heart rate through the roof and will cause you major bonking.
The one thing you do need to remember in trail running is to lift your feet. Trails can be really rocky and technical, and this might be the biggest adjustment for runners coming from a road running background. Make sure to look ahead and survey the upcoming terrain so that you know what to expect. You're going to see a rock or root before it hits you, and as it's coming towards you, make sure you lift your feet to get over it and not trip up. The good news is that the more time you spend on the trail practicing, the less you'll end up falling over. And as with anything else, we get better and better, and the more you learn how to handle technical sections and spot your foot plant, the better your trail running will get.
So what do you need? Well, the first thing you need is a pair of running shoes. Many of the trails you can run here are in wadi beds, and your regular running shoes, as long as they have a bit of grip, will suffice. So there's no need to go out and spend hundreds of dirhams on expensive kits. Nice, but not necessary. So think about the terrain you're running on. If you are going up and down steep descents, look at the grip, the rubbiness of the sole. You may never need to buy a pair of trail shoes. So clothing, the only addition to your regular running gear would be a thin long sleeve layer to throw on if you are planning to go to any significant elevation. It does get cold and windy sometimes, and if you're wet, that can make you feel cold and hypothermic. Winters in the UAE can be very cold, windy and stormy, so don't underestimate the need to keep warm. More importantly, you need a backpack. Something that has adjustable shoulder straps. and the waist belt would be ideal. Again, no need for a specialized backpack, but large enough to contain your emergency equipment, water, electrolyte tablets, basic medical kit, a phone. We cannot stress enough how much you need to take these basic items with you, especially if you plan to run alone.
So how much water do you need to take with you? Well, how far are you going to run? What's the outside temperature like? How much are you likely to drink? What you need to do is make a plan so you can take enough water with you. Self-ration that supply, and by that I mean don't just gulp down as much as you can when you're feeling thirsty. As long as you're drinking regularly, say a good slurp every 10 minutes, you can form a really good habit of not only drinking to keep hydrated, but also so you don't deplete your supply before you've actually finished your run. Electrolytes, especially important here in the UAE, and we'll be talking about sodium and how your body needs to replenish those stores in another podcast. But for now, let's just say that your body needs to keep a balance of mineral salts and water to function efficiently. An electrolyte powder or salt tablet mixed with your water will keep your balance where it should be. There is such a thing as drinking too much plain water, and that's called hyponatremia. That's a situation you never want to find yourself in. Basically, that means you've diluted your sodium stores so much with plain water, it can result in symptoms such as nausea, vomiting, confusion, seizures, or even a loss of consciousness, and that's somewhere you never want to be. Food. Take a snack with you, a few dates, almonds, a good trail mix, a banana, whatever you fancy, but something that will satisfy a blood sugar drop or a craving depending on the length of your run. A gel if you like that kind of thing. In a later podcast, we'll be going into how you can fuel naturally with everyday foods. But for now, let's say, take some food with you. And keep it where you can get to it easily. If you keep it in your front pockets instead of in your backpack, you can take a snack whenever you like. You're unlikely to want to take your backpack off, unzip, take a snack out, put it back on. If they're right here, you can access them anytime you like, and you will be able to keep going on your trail run. A medical kit. Again, we cannot stress how useful this small piece of kit is, and it's very small to take with you. Especially on trail where the likelihood of tripping and cutting yourself is higher than on the road. Just take a few band-aids or large plasters that can stop the blood running all over the place. Stop the flies getting in there and preventing further injury or even infection. A bandage, it can help stabilise a twisted or broken limb until you get medical assistance. And a couple of painkillers or anti-inflammatory tablets can ease that pain until you seek medical help. And remember, a medical kit is not just for you. It gives you the ability to assist someone else in need of your help. Cash. You might find yourself in a situation where you've run out of water and at the door of a grocery store with a fridge full of icy cold water. You might even need a taxi home. Take some coins in your pocket. You might be able to use a vending machine or some notes so that you can get a taxi home. Always take some cash with you.
So, survival blanket. You don't need this on every run. However, it's so light and small and it's not a pain to carry, so leave it in your backpack. Again, winters in the UAE can be bitterly cold on the mountains, and if you find yourself on an exposed trail, possibly injured, you will need a survival blanket. Small light. Again, you may get caught out and you are on a trail when the darkness falls. A light can be useful to find your way or signal to people that are trying to find you. A phone. I really don't know many people that don't have a phone these days. However, make sure that it is fully charged and that you have a signal in the area. If not, you would be wise to get like a satellite phone or a Garmin InReach, spot unit, etc. etc. In any case, remember, it's important, like a scout, be prepared. Always tell someone where you are, where you're going, and when you will be back. You can use Strava Beacon or Road ID so friends and family can locate you on your run. Check the weather forecast. Rains in the mountain and woodies can be extremely dangerous.
Okay, so you're planning your first trail run. Where do you start? Maybe start by running a set amount of time instead of a mileage. So for example, if you usually run 5k in 30 minutes, forget the 5 kilometers and just run for 30 minutes and cover that distance, whatever it might be, in 30 minutes. That way you won't be killing yourself just to get in the mileage. Shorten your stride so that your weight is over your feet most of the time. This allows you to react quickly and maintain your balance while you're on the rocky terrain. You'll find that trail running works your core and stabilizer muscles more than road running, so it may help to focus on keeping your core engaged while you're on the trail. Try and keep compact with little lateral movement, and try and keep your cadence high. A nice fast foot repetition is always going to help you rather than a long stride, which may have you skating off in one direction or the other. Try to go out with experienced trail runners who know the route and how long it should take to finish. They'll also have lots of advice to offer. If you are going alone, make sure you have a route in mind so that not only can you tell friends and family where you're going to be, but how much water and food you're going to take along with you, how likely you're going to be running for.
Plan your timing. It gets hot very quickly here in the UAE, and many people have been caught out when temperatures suddenly spike and you are out in the open with no shade and on a long run. Take a cool box and leave it at your car, so when you return you have a nice cold drink, a fruit sandwich, and even maybe a wet towel that you've left there to cool yourself off. Take a spare pair of comfy shoes so you can change out of your running shoes and give your feet a break.
The beauty of trail running is that it's not just a physical challenge, it's a mental one too. You can find yourself on such a variety of terrains in spectacular dunes like I am today, or in the mountains where you've got technical ascents and descents. You have to engage your brain as well. You have to look where the markers are, for example, if you're in a race. Your entire body is getting a complete workout, and it's an exhausting sport in that sense. But that's what makes trail running so unique. The variety, the technicality of it, and the engaging of your entire body. Okay, so that's trail running in a nutshell. We're going to go back to the studio now and talk to someone who has just started trail running, and she's going to discuss with us her experiences in her first race and how she trains.
Hello and welcome to our first podcast, Get Out There with Urban Ultra. We have a first guest here today. Just kidding. Emma Woodcock. She's joining us for a quick chat about her trail running escapades, a beginner, a newbie to trail running. Emma, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a mum of a 21-year-old son. I'm 49 years old, so just about to embark on my midlife crisis.
Most people usually buy Porsches, not take up trail running though, right?
That's really true. So we've been in the UAE for 10 years now, and obviously I'm aware of the trail running community over here because of being camping and going out with you ladies. So I just really wanted to give it a try.
Okay, so you've just taken up trail running. How do you train? How have you started with your training?
So before I was actually a cyclist and cycled a fair amount.
Are you still a cyclist?
Well, yeah, I guess you could say I am, but I'm off the bike at the moment. But I just fancy trying something different, and so I started in January. I started a 0 to Hero run program, and having never run before, and didn't actually think that I could be a runner. But
why did you not think you could be a runner?
I don't know. I think I've never really felt that I was capable of running. Like, I'd run for a bus and be out of breath and stuff like that. I can't remember the last time I ran for a bus, but you know what I'm talking about. No, I just really never felt that I could run, just because I've never really been able to pace myself, I suppose. Like anyone who doesn't run, you run to the corner or something and then you're out of breath because you've sprinted probably too fast for your ability. And
so did you feel your cycling really didn't stand you in good stead for your running, or?
Not, actually I didn't think it did. And I see runners coming into the sport of cycling and having an amazing endurance and thinking, and I thought perhaps it would work the other way round. So it is very different. It's obviously a non-weight bearing sport, cycling, and you are constantly just using the same muscles. So actually you're opening yourself up for some injuries there because it's just that constant forward motion all the time, using your big muscles. And so I just wanted to try something different and try and actually shock my body into losing a bit of weight.
So you ran with others, or you chose a group to run with? How did you start?
So I started, I joined a run group on my community at Arabian Ranches, and it was called actually 0 to Hero, so for people who didn't think that they could run, but were open to to giving it a go. And so my first target was just a 5K run in a couple of months. So we started in January. I started with a group of friends.
So 8 weeks to do to train properly for a 5K road run. Okay.
Exactly. And I loved running with them, and we just ran around our community, and it was great fun, and we just kept running together, and the distances got a little bit longer until we were doing sort of about a 10K. So I did the one in Murdiff, the cross country 10K, and I loved it. I loved the fact that there was different surfaces underfoot, and then I began to think, well, maybe I could go for one of the urban ultra events if I could just do one of the short distances.
Okay. And what was the terrain like on the Mushroff X cross country?
It was mixed, but not as mixed as that you get on a proper trail run. There was a mixture of sand. There was a few little hilly bits.
Yeah.
Track as well, and a bit of grass.
And this group that you run with, are they all ladies, or is it a mixed group, or roughly the same age?
No, it's an absolute mixture. So Urban Energy is a community-based run club. So they start a club wherever there is a need for it. Actually, my group is predominantly women, although we do have the odd chap come along.
And how does he feel when he turns up and sees all you lot?
It's usually someone we know, actually,
right.
being, because it's sort of a local run club.
Is that down to the reward at the end that you usually go for? Some liquid refreshment at the end?
You're referring to our pub run, Louise.
No, I suppose it's good to have something that rewards you at the end, rather than just going for a run, saying goodbye and see you. You're bonding with people. You're forming a social group that
Absolutely.
you enjoy being with, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And it is that, our Sunday night group that we run. I mean, we do run other times in the week, but that community spirit that we have is really good.
Helped all the more by
It
the
does.
liquid refreshment, I'm sure. So have you raced yet?
I have.
Okay. Where
So-
was it, and
so
how long?
I did my first 10K trail run with Urban Ultra in April. I did the Wadi Racer.
And how was that?
It was brilliant. It was really good. I've, as you know, I've been and watched a few of your events, and I think my first one was a few years ago, was the actual Extreme 3, and that is fairly extreme. And I never imagined that, I would do a trail run one day.
Rather than
because-
stamping people's passes in and out and giving
I
water
know.
out.
Because, it's a beautiful environment to spend the weekend in. And so just to come in and watch them and hang out with you and, meet the goats and all of that kind of stuff is lovely. So once I started to run and I knew I could run 10K, and then of course you had your 10K Wadi Racer, I thought, well, why not?
And how did you find it running 10K on a trail as opposed to running 10K on a road? Is it very different?
Of course, it's very different. So a few weeks before we came to do your run, and I brought some of our Sunday night girls with me, we started mixing it up. So Laurence, our coach, she had us sort of running up the sandbanks and running through some more uneven terrain. And you quickly realise actually that you use a lot more muscles in different terrain. You've got that lateral movement and stuff that you just don't get pounding the pavements or spinning along on your bike. So yeah, it was, you don't go for a time for sure, but what you do, you don't have to run it all. That's the thing. You can, if it's super steep or it's a little bit sketchy on the downhill, you walk that bit and then you run where you can. It's
and just to clarify, this was actually doubly hard because we started you off in the dark. So you had a head torch to start with, and then you race the sunrise. So the sun comes up just as I think you get to the ridge on the single track trail, which is just beautiful as you look over the mountains.
It's stunning.
It's
It's really funny. At one point, as it got light, I said to there was two girls I was running with, Danielle and Sue, and Sue's a seasoned runner and Danielle was her first run with me, and I was like, looked back, look back at that and look how far up we've climbed. We came from down there and we were like, yeah, that was really cool. And then we turned around the corner.
There's another hill.
It was a very large hill, Lou. Yeah.
I think that's called the mother hump,
Yeah.
that one. So do you think you'll continue to trail run?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we had, there was a group of us, so some of the people who help out and the runners, we all camped the night before. It's just a really nice way to spend a winter weekend. It's lovely. And
So you came in the afternoon on the Friday. I think the
Yeah.
race was on a Saturday morning. You came on the Friday,
yeah,
set up camp,
yeah.
had a few drinks and a social gathering with
Exactly.
everyone,
Probably a
and
few
then
too many. Yeah.
woke up early in the morning for
Very
the 5
early
a.m.
in
start.
the dark. Yeah, it was really good. What I loved about it is that obviously some of the community that you have already, some of the seasoned runners, they might have seen me around at some of your events, and you feel like a little bit of a fraud because these are people that run 100 kilometers and they make you just feel so welcome and so much a part of it. It's a really nice thing, and I think the other thing that I know also from volunteering is that it doesn't matter what time you do it in, that we always, as the people on the checkpoints or at the finish, cheer everyone equally. So it doesn't matter if you're last, and actually that means you've worked extra hard because you've been out there longer. So
you deserve double the cheering, double the bell
more
ringing.
Cowbells. Yeah, exactly. So it just makes it a very friendly and welcoming place to be.
So is there another race that you're aiming for now? Are you in training for the bigger distance, or
I would love to by the finish of the season. I mean, I don't think I'm ever going to be a 50k runner or a 100k runner, but
never say never.
No, I won't yet. But I'd love to do a 20. Yeah, I'm just going to take it one step at a time.
Okay. What do you like most about running in the UAE?
Well, having not run anywhere else, I can't compare it to running anywhere else. But what I do love about running here is, with you anyway, to the places that is because of the places that you take us. I've been here 10 years, as I said, and it's very easy to slip into the habit of going to the shopping mall on the weekends, and I would ride my bike and then we'd go to the mall, and then the weekend's gone. And actually being part of the trail running community, you go out, you camp, you experience the beauty, and it really is beautiful out there. And you have a knack for finding lovely places. It's just lovely that running through the wadis, or it's stunning, and I like goats.
We all love goats, don't we? Yes. What do you like the least? I suppose there's not. I mean, are there any things you don't like about it at all?
No, I mean, I'm cross with myself at the moment because what's become apparent is that, as I said before, you do need to use a lot more of your body than I've been using. So what I've realised is that I'm not going to be able to just come out and smash through a 30k. I need to train my body, and I do need to strengthen my legs in different areas,
glutes,
and my core and my very lazy glutes and all of that stuff. So I mean, there's nothing not to like. I don't think the events are brilliantly well run, speaking as a volunteer.
Is there anything else that you would like to see in respect to that strengthening, rather than just people going out on the trails and saying, right, we're going to run this? Would you like to do more of a crash course on how to train for a trail run?
Absolutely, because I think you just don't. Yeah, I don't know. I hadn't thought about it. I thought that my endurance would be good, and that I would take to it quickly, and I do love it, but I do appreciate that. I have weaknesses that needed to be worked on.
It's all revealing. Trail running is all revealing of all your weaknesses.
It's a full body workout, for sure.
And mental.
Yes, yeah. And that's the other thing, I think running on the pavement, you can kind of disengage a little bit. I'm lucky because I run with friends, so it's interesting. But when you train by yourself, you can disengage and you can just almost not be present when you're running. Whereas when you're running trail, you're so aware of the environment around you because you need to watch where you're going. You need to watch for markers in case you go wrong. So yeah, it's a full body and mind workout, I think.
Okay. How do you train when? How do you train? How do you fuel when you're training?
Very
Is it similar to your cycling?
Yeah, very similarly to cycling, really. I think, carbs and protein. I mean, I tend to not particularly like supplements and gels and things like that. I prefer to eat whole food, real food. I like porridge. But obviously, I can eat a bowl of porridge and go and ride my bike, but I wouldn't necessarily advocate eating a bowl of porridge and going straight out for a run.
I guess it depends on how much time you leave before that kilo of porridge before you go out running.
Exactly. Yeah.
No change really to your fueling.
Not necessarily. I think the only thing that I had to kind of work out was how I was going to carry my water. And fortunately, I was able to go back to when I first started riding my bike, and I still had my little Camelback before I learned how to get my bottle out and put it back again without falling off. So I used that. So that was very good.
Okay.
You dish your food in there as well.
What kind of kit do you wear? Do you wear anything different, especially for the UAE where we have very different temperatures to everywhere else? And have you been extravagant with something that you would?
I invested in a pair of really good compression shorts, which I just find super comfortable.
To use while you're running or afterwards?
No, to use while I'm running.
Okay.
Just the shorts, but I just find them really comfortable to run in. So I'm not sort of hitching stuff up as I go, or
they're falling down.
Exactly. Yeah, so I really like those. Some really good underwear, non-chafe underwear, I've recently discovered is a good thing. Obviously, not having to worry about that too much when you're on the bike. And shoes, obviously, super important because the terrain can be a bit tough on your trainers. I've seen a few people lose the bottoms of their shoes.
Yeah.
But I did. I invested in a nice pair of trail running speed goats, which I love.
Nice.
Yeah.
I know we've touched on this before, but how would you describe the trail running community? I know you've just started running, and you said that the running community in your own community area is friendly. But how do you compare the community of trail, for example?
It's just there are special people. I think trail runners. I think because they have that real love of nature, and I think you need to have that to enjoy being out there because it's all around you. So they are generally very open, lovely, welcoming people, and I've been watching from afar not that far, but from within the camp for the last few years, and I see they compete, especially the really fast ones. They compete, but they're like family. They're really friendly. Everyone knows everyone else, and they're super supportive of the beginners. All the way through.
And how do you feel at the finish line when you're not necessarily first, not necessarily last?
No, I wasn't last, but I wouldn't actually mind if I was last because I know how everyone gets cheered through, sometimes sang through. It was lovely because the people that I'm usually standing shaking my bells with were there to cheer me back through. And it was brilliant. I can't wait to do it again.
So do you see yourself signing up for another race, not just here? Can you see yourself signing up for an overseas race, for example?
I've got my eye on there's a really beautiful trail running event that's actually just happened now in the Costa Brava. I think I've got a bit of a way to go. Still I can work up to that one.
It's rugged in Spain, right?
It's very rugged. And actually some of the distances, I've started stalking a few people on Strava.
What were the distances?
The one that they did yesterday was in teams of 4 and it was 100k. So that's...
To share between the 4?
You have to run so I think it was teams of 12, but I think you have to stay in fours.
Okay.
So you run as a 4
Yeah.
for a third of it. But yeah, I think that maybe, who knows. But the trails around there are lovely, and so I've definitely got my eye on doing something around there.
It all sounds brilliant, and I can't wait to see you on another one of our races.